Welcome, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the world of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism.
And we've got some great source material to work with.
Yeah, selections from his personal writings, meditations, and its introduction.
We're going to try to unpack all of that for you today.
It's just amazing to me how this Roman emperor, a warrior, a leader, also found solace and guidance in philosophy.
It really is a unique combination.
Like, you don't typically picture a Roman emperor conquering lands, wielding immense power,
Right.
also taking the time for deep self-reflection and philosophical study.
Right, but that's what makes Marcus Aurelius so compelling.
Absolutely. And it wasn't like he had this easy, privileged life either.
No.
He faced wars, dealt with some serious family drama, and a devastating plague ravaged the empire during his reign.
All of which makes his philosophical writings all the more fascinating.
I agree.
In my opinion, he was grappling with real-world, high-stakes challenges, not just abstract theories.
Yeah.
He was trying to figure out how to live a good life,
Yeah.
not just how to think about it.
Let's talk about meditations specifically.
Okay.
Can you set the stage a little bit? What exactly is this book?
So it's not really a book in the traditional sense.
Okay.
It's more like a personal journal
Okay.
filled with these notes and reflections and reminders he wrote for himself.
So not intended for an audience?
No, not at all. It wasn't a polished philosophical treatise meant for publication or anything. It was just raw and unfiltered, written in Greek.
I see.
And it gives us these incredible glimpses into the mind of a man who had immense power,
Yeah.
yet struggled with very human questions about life, death, virtue, duty, how to rule a vast empire while staying true to his principles.
Yeah, it seems like that personal nature of the writing makes it even more powerful.
Agreed.
You feel like you're right there with him,
Yeah.
wrestling with these big questions alongside him.
Absolutely.
And I see that in the excerpts you've provided, like in book 1, where he expresses gratitude for his grandfather's teachings on gentleness and meekness. It's so touching.
It is. And you can just sense the genuine affection and gratitude he had for his grandfather's influence.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about, military strategy and leadership, but about character and virtue.
And right after that, he reflects on what he learned from other mentors, like Apollonius.
Yes.
Who taught him about true liberty, about not being swayed by external things.
Exactly. And that's a key principle of Stoicism, which we'll dive into more later.
Right.
But even at this early stage in Meditations, we can see those seeds of Stoic philosophy taking root in Marcus Aurelius' thinking.
There are also some entries that really surprised me, like his thoughts on sin, where he argues that sins of lust are worse than sins of anger.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
That one is definitely thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And it gives us a window into the complexities of his moral thinking, how he was applying these Stoic principles to very human struggles,
Right.
and wrestling with how to define virtue.
Speaking of Stoicism, it seems like we need a foundation in the philosophy itself
Okay.
to really understand what Marcus Aurelius is getting at. Can you give us a crash course?
Absolutely. Stoicism was founded by Zeno in ancient Greece,
Okay.
and later systematized by Chrysippus. Now, I know those names might not mean a whole lot to you right now,
Right.
but what's important is that Stoicism really resonated in Roman times and had a profound impact on many great thinkers, including Marcus Aurelius. A core tenet of Stoicism is focusing on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your reactions,
Okay.
and accepting what you can't.
So acceptance is key.
Yes.
But what about happiness? Where does that fit in?
Ah, yes, happiness. So Stoics believe that virtue, living a morally good life, is the only true good.
Okay.
Everything else, wealth, health, reputation, these are all considered indifferent.
Okay.
They're not inherently good or bad, just external factors we can't truly control.
So you could be dirt poor,
Yes.
but still be incredibly happy as long as you're virtuous.
Exactly. True happiness comes from aligning yourself with virtue and living in accordance with reason, not from chasing external things that are ultimately outside your control.
Okay, that makes sense. But what exactly does living in accordance with reason, or as you called it earlier, living in accordance with nature, mean?
That is a great question. So it's about understanding the rational order of the universe, the logos,
Okay,
and finding your place within that grand scheme.
I see.
It's about working with the flow of nature, not fighting against it.
Okay.
And this is where we see Marcus Aurelius really embodying Stoicism.
So how do we actually put this into practice? How do we go from these abstract philosophical ideas to living a Stoic life, especially when we're not Roman emperors?
There's the million-dollar question. And that's what makes Marcus Aurelius' writing so valuable. He doesn't just tell us about Stoicism. He shows us how he tries to live it out. Even in the midst of tremendous challenges.
Let's dive into some of those key insights from Meditations, then. What really stood out to you? What should we be paying attention to?
Well, first and foremost, the emphasis on self-reflection. Marcus Aurelius constantly analyzed his thoughts and actions, striving for self-improvement. He saw it as essential for a virtuous life. He wasn't afraid to examine his flaws and shortcomings, honestly. Which is something, we can all learn from.
That constant self-reflection must have been vital in helping him navigate such a high-pressure life.
Oh, I think so. He also talks a lot about the fleeting nature of life. Reminding himself and us about our mortality and how everything is constantly changing. It's not meant to be morbid or anything, but rather to help us put things in perspective.
It's easy to get caught up in the dramas and anxieties of daily life. But his point seems to be, don't waste your precious time on things that don't truly matter.
Exactly, and that connects to the idea of finding happiness within.
Right.
True happiness for a Stoic doesn't depend on external circumstances, but rather on aligning yourself with virtue and living in accordance with nature.
So self-reflection, accepting the impermanence of things,
Yes.
finding happiness within, these are big takeaways. What else should we be paying attention to?
Acceptance of fate is another huge theme in Meditations.
Okay.
He talks about embracing whatever life throws at you, good or bad, as part of the natural order.
Yeah.
As part of that grand interconnectedness of things, not fighting against it,
Right.
but seeing it as part of a larger plan.
Which again must have been especially important for him
I think so.
as emperor, dealing with constant pressures and challenges.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the weight of an empire on his shoulders. It makes sense that Stoicism, with its emphasis on acceptance and focusing on what you can control, would be an incredible source of strength for him.
Absolutely. But remember, it wasn't just about enduring hardship.
Okay.
He also emphasized using reason to guide our actions and overcome negative emotions. He saw reason as a tool. We have to navigate the world to make good choices and to not be ruled by our baser instincts.
So it's about combining that inner resilience
Yes.
with clear, rational thinking. But it's not all about cold logic, is it?
No.
He also talks about the importance of kindness and forgiveness,
Yes.
even when dealing with the difficult people.
That's one of the most beautiful aspects of his philosophy.
I agree.
He understood that even in the face of anger, betrayal, or just plain rudeness, striving for understanding and compassion is the higher path.
Yeah.
It's about having that inner strength.
Right.
Yes, but extending that strength outward
Yeah.
in the form of compassion and understanding.
It's a powerful combination. It's like he's saying, you have the power to choose how you react, even when faced with difficult situations or difficult people.
And that choice, that ability to choose our response, is at the heart of Stoicism. It's about recognizing that we have more control than we often realize,
Yeah.
even if it's just control over our own inner world.
It all ties into his understanding of interconnectedness, too.
Yeah.
This idea that we're all part of a larger whole, that our actions have ripple effects.
Exactly. We are all part of a larger web of existence, and that awareness should inform how we treat others and move through the world.
So we've got self-reflection, acceptance of what we can't control, finding happiness within, choosing virtue, acting with reason and compassion, and remembering our interconnectedness. It's no wonder Marcus Aurelius's Meditations has resonated with people for centuries.
It really is timeless wisdom. And what I find most compelling is that he wasn't just writing these things. He's actively trying to live them out in his own life, which was far from easy.
He was walking the walk, not just talking the talk, which is incredibly inspiring.
It is.
Especially when you consider the incredible challenges he faced.
Right. And it makes you think, how can we apply these same principles to our own lives?
Yeah.
We may not be emperors, but we all have our own internal battles to fight.
Exactly.
And our own sense of duty to figure out.
This deep dive has barely scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in Meditations. But for now, we'll leave it there and pick back up in part 2 of our deep dive into the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. You know, as we delve deeper into Meditations, I keep thinking about the impact of Marcus Aurelius's upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, he had a pretty unique childhood, even for a Roman emperor.
Yeah.
And And I'm wondering if that might have played a role in his attraction to Stoicism.
That's a great observation. His early life was anything but ordinary.
Yeah.
The introduction to Meditations mentions that his father and grandfather died when he was young,
Oh, wow.
but he clearly cherished their memory. Particularly his grandfather's teachings on gentleness and moral character. It seems those early lessons left a lasting impression.
And didn't Emperor Hadrian, the one who preceded Antoninus Pius,
Yes.
take a special interest in Marcus Aurelius?
He did. Hadrian saw something special in young Marcus, nicknaming him Verissimus, meaning most truthful. At just 6 years old, Hadrian bestowed upon him equestrian rank. And at 8, he was inducted into a prestigious priesthood. Imagine that kind of pressure and expectation at such a young age.
Wow, that's incredible. So even surrounded by the allure of power and privilege,
Right.
he had these influential figures emphasizing integrity and inner strength. It's as if the seeds of Stoicism were planted early on.
Exactly. But it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Right.
He was betrothed to Faustina, the daughter of Antoninus Pius, who would later become emperor and adopt Marcus.
Oh, wow.
A very calculated political move, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Arranged marriages and imperial succession.
Right.
Not exactly a recipe for a carefree youth.
Right. But amidst all of this political maneuvering,
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius was immersed in the study of Stoicism.
Uh-huh.
And it seems to have resonated deeply with him, providing a framework for navigating the complexities and challenges of his world.
It makes me wonder how different history might have been if he had been schooled in, say, Epicureanism, a philosophy that prioritizes pleasure and happiness as the ultimate good.
Now that's a fascinating thought experiment.
Yeah.
A Roman emperor advocating for pleasure above all else.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to reconcile that image with the Marcus Aurelius we know, the philosopher king, renowned for his simple lifestyle, dedication to duty, and concern for his people.
It doesn't quite scream hedonist, does it?
Not at all.
Right.
And that's what I find so intriguing about his take on Stoicism. It wasn't just a set of, abstract principles for him.
Right.
He actively tried to integrate them into the very real challenges of running an empire.
And that's reflected in Meditations, right? These aren't just detached philosophical musings.
Right.
But his personal attempts to grapple with problems, stay grounded, and remind himself of what truly matters.
Precisely. And one thing that really jumps out at me is his emphasis on mentorship.
Oh, interesting.
He explicitly names his influences his grandfather, Apollonius, Rusticus Fronto, and many others.
Yeah. He clearly valued learning from those who came before him, recognizing that wisdom often comes from others' experiences and guidance.
That's such a valuable lesson for us all,
It is.
No one figures it all out on their own. We all need guidance, mentors, people who can offer us different perspectives and wisdom.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger community.
Yeah.
A chain of knowledge and experience passed down through generations. And Marcus Aurelius, despite his position of power, was humble enough to acknowledge that.
And he didn't just passively absorb knowledge.
Right.
He actively applied what he learned.
Yeah.
He used those Stoic principles to make difficult decisions, deal with setbacks, and stay focused on what he could control amidst the chaos of ruling an empire.
Yes. And he doesn't shy away from acknowledging his own shortcomings in Meditations.
Right.
He admits that he didn't always live up to his ideals, that he sometimes struggled to apply those Stoic principles in the heat of the moment.
Sure.
There's a real honesty there.
A willingness to confront his own flaws that makes him all the more human and relatable.
It reminds us that he wasn't some perfect, unfeeling Stoic robot,
No.
but a real person struggling to do his best in a very imperfect world. And I think that's a big part of why his writings still resonate with us today. We see ourselves in those struggles.
I completely agree. We might not be emperors running vast empires,
Right.
but we all face challenges, setbacks, and internal conflicts.
Yeah.
We all grapple with questions of how to live a good life,
Yeah.
how to deal with difficult people,
Right.
and how to find peace amidst chaos.
Yeah.
And Marcus Aurelius's Meditations offers a roadmap, a set of tools
Yeah.
that can help us navigate those challenges with grace and resilience.
So we've explored his upbringing, his embrace of Stoicism, and his real-world application of those principles.
Yeah.
But what about his legacy?
Okay.
Why do you think his writings have endured for so long, resonating with people even centuries later?
That's a great question. I think there are several reasons. First, the timeless wisdom he offers.
Mm-hmm.
The challenges he faced dealing with difficult people, managing expectations, finding inner peace amidst chaos.
Yeah.
These are universal human experiences that we still grapple with today.
Hmm.
So his insights, though written centuries ago, feel incredibly relevant and applicable to our modern lives.
It's like he tapped into something fundamental about the human experience,
Yeah.
something that transcends time and culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, his writing is so personal and introspective.
Yeah.
It's not some dry academic philosophical treatise.
Right.
We're getting these intimate glimpses into the mind of a man wrestling with real problems, real emotions, and that makes him incredibly relatable.
It humanizes him. Right. He's not this untouchable figure on a pedestal,
Right.
but someone we can empathize with, someone we can learn from.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And third, I think his life story itself is incredibly inspiring. Here's a man who held immense power, who could have easily indulged in every excess, yet he chose a path of discipline, service, and self-reflection.
Yeah.
It's a powerful model for leadership and for how to live a meaningful and purposeful life.
It's a powerful reminder that true greatness isn't about external displays of power or wealth.
Right.
It's about inner strength, integrity, and a commitment to something larger than yourself.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And that's a message that I think will always resonate with humanity.
I agree. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's something you think our listeners should keep in mind as they continue to explore Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism? What's a nugget of wisdom they can take away and apply to their own life?
That's a great question.
Oh.
You know, one of the things that strikes me most about Marcus Aurelius is his constant emphasis on personal responsibility.
Okay.
He reminds himself over and over that he can't control the actions of others, but he can control his own thoughts, reactions, and choices.
Right.
And it's in that space of personal responsibility,
Yep.
that ability to choose our response, where we find incredible freedom and power.
Yeah.
It's a powerful message, and one we can all benefit from taking to heart, regardless of our circumstances.
It's about focusing on what we can control.
Yes.
Making choices that align with our values and accepting the things we can't change. That's Stoicism in a nutshell.
It is.
And it's a philosophy that can offer incredible guidance in today's world,
It can.
just as it did for Marcus Aurelius in ancient Rome.
Couldn't agree more. And remember, Stoicism isn't about becoming some emotionless, unfeeling robot.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to challenges, to find inner peace amidst chaos, and to live lives of meaning and purpose, even when things are tough.
That's a great point to keep in mind. So on that note, we'll continue our deep dive in part 3. We'll explore specific passages from Meditations and discuss how we can apply his timeless wisdom to our own lives. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism. I'm so excited to dig into some specific passages from Meditations with you and see what other gems we can uncover.
Yeah, me too. There's so much richness in his writing. It's just amazing how these personal reflections penned almost 2,000 years ago still resonate with such force today.
It really is like he's speaking directly to us across the centuries,
I know it's true.
offering guidance and perspective on the challenges we face in our own lives. One passage that really struck me is in Book 2, where Marcus Aurelius talks about how everything is in constant flux. He points out that even the things we think are solid and permanent are actually changing all the time.
Yes, he uses the analogy of a loaf of bread baking, observing how the crust cracks and breaks apart in the oven.
Right.
It's not what the baker intended, but those imperfections actually contribute to the overall appeal of the bread.
It's like he's saying, embrace the imperfections, the unexpected turns of life. Don't get so fixated on things being a certain way that you miss the beauty in the process of change.
Exactly. And he applies that same logic to life itself. Later in that same book, he writes that we should view the world not as a loose, independent number consisting merely of necessary events, but as a discrete connection of things orderly and harmoniously disposed.
So it's not just random chaos. There's a bigger order at play, even if we can't always grasp it.
Right. And this leads to another key insight from Meditations,
Sure.
the importance of accepting fate.
Okay.
He argues that we should embrace whatever life throws at us, good or bad, as part of the natural order, as part of that grand interconnectedness of things.
That can be a tough pill to swallow, though.
It is.
Especially when we're dealing with things like loss, disappointment, or unexpected setbacks.
Yeah, it's easy to ask, why is this happening to me? But his point is that resisting what is only creates more suffering. Instead, we should try to view those challenges, those difficult moments, as opportunities for growth, as tests of our character. Remember, for Stoics, virtue is the sole good. So even in the face of adversity, we can choose to act virtuously, to respond in a way that aligns with our values.
That reminds me of another powerful passage from Meditations, this one in Book 4. Marcus Aurelius writes that the mind and understanding, when once it hath recollected itself and knows its own power, hath in this life and breath no interest at all, but is altogether indifferent.
That is such a powerful statement. He's saying that our inner state, our peace of mind, doesn't have to be dependent on external circumstances.
Right.
Even when things around us are chaotic, uncertain, or even downright unpleasant.
Yeah.
We have the power to choose how we respond internally. We can choose to remain calm, centered, and focused on what we can control.
So it's about cultivating that inner strength, that ability to detach from the constant ups and downs of life.
Right.
Knowing that true peace comes from within, not from external circumstances.
Precisely. And this connects to his unwavering emphasis on virtue as the sole good.
Yeah.
If we focus on living a morally good life, doing the right thing, then everything else, all those external factors, becomes secondary.
So even when faced with external challenges and setbacks,
Yes.
as long as we're striving to be virtuous, to act in accordance with reason and our values, we can still find contentment and peace within. That's a powerful idea.
It is. And he even applies this principle to our interactions with others.
Yeah.
In Book 6, he writes, "The best kind of revenge is not to become like unto them."
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the desire for revenge when someone wrongs us.
Yeah.
To want to get back at them, to make them feel the pain they caused us.
It's a natural human impulse.
Right.
But Marcus Aurelius reminds us that by stooping to their level, by giving in to that desire for revenge, we're only harming ourselves. We're letting their actions dictate our own behavior, compromising our own integrity.
Right.
True strength lies in rising above that desire, in choosing a different path, a path that aligns with our own values.
It's about recognizing that other people's actions are ultimately a reflection of their own inner state, their own choices, and not letting those actions dictate our own choices.
Exactly. And it's about choosing to respond with kindness and understanding,
right,
even when it's difficult,
yeah,
even when we feel hurt or wronged.
There's another passage I want to touch on from Book 7. Marcus Aurelius writes that all things are looked and knitted together, and the knot is sacred. It's such a beautiful image.
It is, and it speaks to his profound understanding of interconnectedness, how we are all part of this larger web of existence. Our actions have ripple effects, and we should always be mindful of that.
It's like that saying, no man is an island, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And our choices impact not only ourselves, but also those around us.
Precisely. And this awareness should inform how we treat others, how we make decisions, how we view our own place in the world. It's a humbling thought, a powerful antidote to egotism and self-centeredness.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism. We've explored his life, his philosophy, and some of the key insights from Meditations. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to highlight? Any final words of wisdom from the philosopher emperor that you think our listeners should take away?
You know what I find most inspiring about Marcus Aurelius is that he wasn't just preaching these principles. He was actively trying to live them out, day in and day out, while running an empire. He faced tremendous challenges, both personal and political.
Right.
And yet he never gave up on his pursuit of virtue,
right,
of living in accordance with nature and reason.
He makes it clear that Stoicism isn't some passive philosophy. It's an active way of life, a constant striving to be our best selves.
Yes.
To make choices that align with our values and to respond to challenges with wisdom and grace.
Exactly. And that's the message I'd like to leave our listener with. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are, whether you're an emperor or an everyday person. The path to a meaningful life lies in embracing those Stoic principles of self-reflection, acceptance, virtue, and interconnectedness.
Right.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
And it's one that's well worth taking.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. We hope you found something here to inspire you, to challenge you, and to guide you on your own path. Until next time, Keep seeking, keep reflecting, and keep striving to live a life worthy of your highest ideals.